ever been sick and wondering why this is happening to you and how you can make it better, you're really going to be interested in my guest today, because I've got Maura Ewell and Anne McCullough from infusionofhope.com. They've got this great CD set called Hopeology. Here we go. And some fabulous words of wisdom. Anne has healed herself from some incredible disease, and, well, I'll let her tell you the story. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here. Tell me, how did you two come together to create this great healing?
Well, you know, I guess it was 5 years ago I moved into this home, which is really an amazing story within itself. I was living with the symptoms of multiple sclerosis. I was legally blind, unable to walk very well, and unable to speak. And at the time, we were living in this home across town where we live here in Longmont, Colorado. And I kept falling down the stairs because I had some real serious balance issues. And I also had a 2-year-old son, so that's a problem. Safety issues for my family. So we started looking at homes in the area, and my husband loves to play golf, and we're near a golf course. We were playing golf, and we noticed this home. It's a 1-story house, and we decided that day to come and look at it. And within 5 days of looking at this house, we sold our home and bought this one. It was incredible. We sold our home for what we asked for it. And when we did, the day we moved into this house where we live now, behind us here, you see this, I met Maura. And it was just meant to be.
And what's incredible about this story is you were legally blind and really having trouble walking and getting up and moving. And now look at you. You are studying to be a black belt, or you're already a black belt, and karate moves. Tell me, tell me a little bit about your healing journey and then how it worked with Maura.
Okay. When I met Anne, I had heard that the woman moving in was pretty sick, so we met the first day, and I teach yoga, and so I went home to look in a book that I have that's for yoga therapy, and there was a practice for multiple sclerosis. So I made a copy of it, and I came over to be with Anne and teach her how to do it. I figured maybe I'd show it to her a few times, and then she could do it for herself on her own. So as we were doing this, with some of these postures, one of them was an inversion. She was just sitting in a chair, but as she went down and then came back up, the blood rushed back into her head, and the lesions, she said, were like knives stabbing in her head. So I thought, oh man, what have I done? You know, I shouldn't have been doing this. I'm not a professional at yoga therapy. So I started to give her Reiki. So just held my hands around her head and gave her Reiki. And the pain subsided really quickly, like within a minute or two. And that had never happened before. She was shocked and I was relieved. And so after that, we did a lot of Reiki. For like the first year, a couple of times a week, we did a lot of Reiki. Now, for people who are thinking, I'd like to, you know, heal and get better myself, there are plenty of ways to clean out your energy system. That's just what we used. We used Reiki. But there are lots of other ways for other people to do it, so don't be discouraged.
One of the things that's so incredible about the story, I think, is that the fact that there was this incredible opening, is that how it went? I mean, were you like, oh, sure, come on in, let's do some yoga?
You know, I really had gotten to a point where, you know, dealing with the depression and living with these symptoms and trying to take care of my family, especially the loss of myself, I was open to a lot of things, but not long, you know, things happen for a reason and just the right timing. About a year before, I started doing acupuncture. And right before we found this home, I've been doing acupuncture for a year, and we had tried all the points. My acupuncturist said, Anne, I have tried absolutely everything on you, and I was so open to it because every time I tried it, I would have more energy, or some other wonderful experience would happen, or I would feel better, or just have a little glimpse of who I was coming back. And right before I found this home, the acupuncturist said, there's one point left I haven't tried. And it was in the middle of the back toward the heart chakra, and it was opening a spiritual doorway. And when she did that point, it was unbelievable. And as I found the house, I met Maura, and I was so open and so ready to try anything. I really recognized at that time that I had to heal my spirit, and then my mind, and then my body would follow. And that was what my action, what I thought, what I would see, what would happen, and it did. It was just wonderful.
Now, you mentioned that there's many ways to open and clean the energy field, and Reiki, which is sort of a hands-on, hands-off process, and yoga. What are some other healing modalities that the two of you have worked with that you can share?
Yeah, you know what we really like now is meridian tapping, EFT. Yeah, that's amazing, especially for releasing old traumas, which we think is a lot of the reason why Anne got sick. You know, in early life, she was in a state of fight or flight, not feeling safe for very long, or, you know, off and on. And then perpetual patterns of thinking and beliefs. You know, so we just kind of unweaved this tangled web. And, you know, I don't know that either one of us really knew what we were doing. We were just kind of following, you know, we were just moving along, hopefully in a positive direction. And the thing is that things changed pretty quickly, and we were getting some good feedback that this was a good direction to keep going in.
You know what's interesting about this is lots of people have bad home situations. I'm not saying that you did or didn't, because we haven't talked about that, but you mentioned the fight or flight, and lots of people go through traumatic things, but not everybody manifests it in a physical illness like MS or chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia. Some people you might be able to make that correlation, but other people seem to go about their lives just fine with no physical symptoms. So how does that correlate to the mind-body-spirit connection, and why do some people seem to manifest physically and others not?
I don't know about other people, but for Anne, I think it was a perpetual lack of self-worth. And she came out of that well.
This is kind of the way I look at it. I'm a recovering attorney. I don't know if you mentioned that, but and part of that you look at, it's called, there's the fruit of the poisonous tree, which means if some part or chain of the evidence is tainted, then the whole chain of evidence is tainted. So for me, I believe that when you have some kind of trauma that also perpetuates another trauma, that anything sort of along the way becomes tainted or becomes damaged. And eventually that sort of led to my being ill. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. It's sort of, this trauma made me react to this trauma, or maybe react to this trauma, and they sort of perpetuated. And even the way you react to certain things is completely different, all based on your experience. But that whole chain led to where I was. And then the whole chain of modalities led me to where I am now.
Right, and obviously you're up and, you know, punching and kicking and moving, yes. And the two of you are very physically fit. You are teaching this whole process and sharing your experience now with other people through workshops. And I know that you just come out of doing some things with teens. Tell me what that's all about.
Well, we've decided to what happened was when we were doing these workshops for adults, we'd have a few moms and some dads to say to us, you know what, Anne, this would be great for teens. And we started thinking, well, if we had some of these tools and ideas and theories when we were younger, you know, that would be wonderful and amazing to have those things. Maybe I could have broken the chain earlier, and I wouldn't have had to drag it on. I wouldn't have to manifest into a disease. I would have figured out some tools to use of my own. So we started thinking, okay, great, how do we present this? Well, teenagers have a shorter attention span than we do. And they usually think they know everything anyway. So we sort of changed the format a little bit and made it shorter. But we've done a teen program. We've had a wonderful response. And so we're going to go ahead and record it the next couple weeks. And so we'll have that available on CD and download too. And it'll be eventually available on iTunes.
Great. And this isn't only just for people who are sick, physically sick, right? This is for anyone that wants to find tools to change their life, to live healthier, to live stronger.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is for everything and anything. You know, we've had people using it to double their business or triple their business. We've had people making new life decisions and attracting the right partner or person for them in their lives, finding jobs. It's basically trying to maintain, you know, and find a way to live healthy and live well. So it's really a program. And along with Hopeology 1 and Teen, we've already developed Hopeology 2, releasing the traumas, Hopeology 3, talking a lot, vibrations and how we live, on through probably Hopeology 6 so far.
Wow, whole big plan there.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all at infusionofhope.com. What are some words of inspiration that you could leave people with who are really struggling right now and don't know where to start?
Hope. Hope is where it all begins. And if you can just have a little glimmer of hope, there's that crack in the door, and a little bit wider, the door opens, and I think hope's that's the beginning. Hold the hope.
For me, I would say, great quote from Joseph Campbell, "We must let go of the life we have planned in order to embrace the one that's waiting for us." And that's essentially the quote that really took that hope and helped me call that to action. And then my last advice for people is my favorite saying we say, within our seminar and our workshops and program, and that is, everything works out in the end. If it's not working out, it's not the end.
Thank you. I encourage everybody to go over to infusionofhope.com. There's a whole set of CDs that you can get over there. Very inspirational, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Michelle.
Thanks a lot, Michelle.